ahead. Too Easy official.
Hold
Go ahead and do the intro, bro. Tell the public what we doing tonight.
on, there's no one in here yet. First, let me wait till some folks get inside of here first.
Okay. Okay.
We get inside of here.
Well, when they go back and rewatch it, they're gonna see it anyway.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah,
Let me wait.
we're gonna wait till we get a couple people tuned in before we do the intro. Tell everybody what we're doing tonight. We got an important discussion um, talking about Dexter Resurrection. So,
Well,
everybody's doing good tonight.
while we're waiting for some people to come in, I mean, how you feeling, man? How you feeling today?
Man, everything's good. I'm located in Huntsville, Alabama. So right now, man, we had a pretty rainy day today. Pouring rain
Right,
pretty much all day, man. So typically rainy days, it's kind of droopy, feels a little bit sleepy. What's going
right.
on in Dallas, Texas, bro?
Man, it's a beautiful day, man. Weather feel great. You'll be jealous. Beautiful sunny.
Temperature wise, man, it feels really good.
Right now, it's 75 degrees outside.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
real good. That's real good for Texas, man.
that feels great, man. It feels great. Only thing that sucks, I'm a little under the weather, as you probably can tell by how my face looks, my voice.
Yeah.
Um, but now let's go and get into it, man. So so this video is going to be about this is our review of Dexter Resurrection season one, and
Mm.
what a season, man. You know, a lot of ups and downs for characters and people in this show, man. It was just crazy, man. So I want to start off with like pretty much, man, like how you felt overall about just this season. Not
I felt overall, man, in this season we had some really interesting characters. Obviously, we had Leon Prater,
right.
who's the main antagonist, if you will, with his little
Yeah.
band of not merry men, but like serial killer collection type of thing, and then
Yeah.
his assassin Charlie. I feel like those two were really really good characters in the Dexter arena in the Dexter world.
Hmm.
And, just seeing Dexter reunited with Harrison this season was really really good.
Yeah.
I feel like Dexter being back in Harrison's life was a welcome thing. That's what I've always wanted. I kind of, when New Blood ended, man, we felt a little bit hurt because we thought Dexter was over. But this season overall brought Dexter back from the grave, and not only that, it brought him back as wanting to be a father figure for his son Harrison. So, man, overall this season, I truly enjoyed. What about yourself?
Yeah, I thought it was great, man. I thought from like every single episode, I thought every episode was great overall. Hold on, my bad. Yeah, every episode was great. Like from first episode, like I love the introductory of just the of his character again. You know, of course, him being like in his coma for quite some time, and then just the whole dynamic between him and Batista was definitely very interesting in this whole entire arc, and it's just crazy how people's motivations just change, and it's just because
Yeah.
original Dexter, it just completely like a shift of like character like motivations, man. So overall, yeah, man, I definitely like the dynamic between Dexter and Harrison more in this show. I felt like Harrison had more time to flesh out as a character, and I also really liked, which I know you might not like. I
And
like
and Harrison this season, man, to me was a very interesting character. I want to say welcome, salute to all the guests that are coming in. We're talking about uh, Dexter, specifically Dexter Resurrection, as a season and as a season finale, which it was a fantastic finale. So I want to say
this
welcome, you
this
guys.
this is the biggest Dexter fan I know.
Oh man,
So I had
I would say for me, Dexter's one of the top shows for me personally. I grew up. I used to love the classic shows like Andy Griffiths and some of those old timey shows, and those are great too. But definitely Dexter is very interesting. But back to this season of Resurrection. Speaking about Harrison, I was worried about Harrison because at the beginning we were introduced to Harrison, committing a crime and committing a murder,
right.
so it was interesting to see how he evolved throughout the episode because
Mm.
he really needs his father in his life, and the season finale really showed that he was there for Dexter because, as we know, when Dexter uh, got trapped at the end of episode 9 when he got trapped in Prater's little vault. It
Yeah.
actually is Harrison who assists in getting him out. So he
Right.
was there for his father. Other than that, I also like Detective Claudette and Olivia. Those two were always on the trail, especially Claudette. Very interesting. So let's go ahead, man, and dive into the season finale. What are you
Hold on,
thinking?
hold on a second, Jay. Shout out to the chat, man. I want to say what's up to everybody.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
what up,
Salute.
Ron? What up? Yes, it's. I'm trying to see. Yes, well, I can't pronounce your name, man. Yes, if TK. Shout out to you. Shout out to what Flavo.
I see
Hey,
Juan and
yeah.
Justin and
Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat.
everybody in the chats, man.
Uh,
Appreciate the
yeah,
love. Appreciate the comments. We're gonna be
yeah.
doing some more lives upcoming, so we appreciate you guys. So let's go ahead, man, and dive in to the
So
season
overall,
finale.
well, hold on. So I don't want to skip to the end already. I
Okay.
want about just the overall story, how it built up to the end, and also the character performance and how each character done. So
Okay.
overall, I liked. I pretty much liked pretty much everything about this new show. The setting of New York City was also really good. It wasn't as dark as Iron Lake and New Blood, which I know that you wasn't really liking how dark Iron Lake was in New Blood.
Well, as a fan of the original Dexter series, pretty much the first 8 seasons, obviously the setting is in Miami, so we get a lot of sunshine, beach settings, and it's just when I mean brightness, I mean just camera and aesthetically.
Right.
Obviously, from New Blood and Resurrection, we're in places that tend to be a little bit colder, tend to be a little bit darker settings, and so
Yeah.
at first I was like, yeah, the nighttime settings and the New York scenes. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more daytime and daylight, but I get why they did what they did.
Yeah, I mean, but it put Dexter in like a new, like just a new environment. Being in different situations that he's not quite used to. Like I like the, I like the one scene whenever when I think when he was taken out. I want to say was it Reed or the real like ride share killer,
Oh,
whatever his.
red.
Yeah. I think there's a scene where Dexter was like he was like in his trunk or whatever, and then like the person had just walked past him. He just immediately turned around and got him. So I felt that was really funny. That was a funny part of the show. So I just like how he used New York City as like a new environment. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, overall, Dexter wakes up from his coma. He gets
But you know what I was just thinking, E? I was just thinking because we're talking about looks and aesthetically, and the show having a darker feel to it. But the word resurrection, that's like coming back from the dead. And we
right.
know at the end of this finale, I'm not going to get too much into it right now. His character as Dexter is resurrected, and it's very fitting because we were just talking about the darkness look of it,
Mhm.
and the show actually ends him riding off, by the Statue of Liberty, and it's dark.
Yeah.
So and he's the dark passenger.
Right.
So he has a dark passenger. So the whole theme of darkness is a very fitting touch, I think, for Dexter's character, man.
Yeah, and I'm gonna touch on that in a little bit too because I felt like that this season was pretty much like a resurrection of Dexter, because in New Blood, like he really wasn't his old self at all, you
No,
know.
not
Yeah, and he was struggling just to take out people, and even so in this season as well, but not to the same extent. I feel like this overall arc of Dexter was, a resurrection of who he truly is, and I think that's what's been missing for him. It's like he's trying to be something that he know he probably can't be. So this is like a resurrection of him. Just all right, this is who I am. Like how you said at the end, this is who I am. But I have like my anchor, which is my son, which keeps me from going too haywire. He's like the one that can tone down the darkness, and I can help him be a better person than I am. So that's
right.
like that, man. But overall, so they go, Dexter, because he's in his coma, and then eventually he finds what in New York City because he sees that you know there's a murder, and obviously the way what they found was pieces like the Bay Harbor Butcher. So that leads them to, what I'm saying, New York City, which leads Batista to follow him. So how'd you like the dynamic between some of the new friends you made, like Blessing, the African guy with his family? How you
You know,
feel?
I like blessing. You know, and one thing that Dexter always does a great thing of doing is that it always keeps you guessing. Who is blessing? What's his backstory? Is he the New York Ripper? You know,
Yeah.
so like it left open doors like we talked about off camera the other day.
Mhm.
And I like blessing as a character. He befriended Dexter, very personable character. I hope that he's around in future seasons because I think there's some actual potential with Blessing as a
Mhm.
character because I think to me, man, there's a little bit more to meets the eye. We know he had a backstory in doing some things. He had a shady past, which
Yeah.
when Dexter exposed that to his daughter, I believe in one episode, he was kind of really upset about what Dexter was sharing. And so I think he may have some things in his past that could be revealed. But overall, Blessing as a character, man, I give him a solid A. I really like him as a character, bro.
How'd you feel about the detective, the real smart girl?
Now, I will say this.
Yeah.
Detective Claudette, it was so funny because she always listened to that Staying Alive music by the Bee
Yeah.
Gees. And whenever she listened to that song, like she was on the trail. She
Right.
was hot on the trail of Harrison, almost basically pinning him for the murder in the hotel.
Right.
But, you know, Dexter kind of finessed that situation and pinning it on somebody else. But
Right.
she was always there. Also, as a character, Detective Claudette, she's smart. Obviously, she's pretty. She's funny. In the season finale, they were getting ready to leave the gala that
Right.
Prater was hosting, and she heard that "Staying Alive" song, and
Started
she went
like
back into the
quick.
ballroom. Yeah,
Yeah.
she went
Quick.
straight back and
Crazy.
started dancing. So we actually saw her dancing. She was
Right.
actually a pretty good dancer. Uh,
Right.
her partner, Melvin Olivia, Detective Olivia,
Mhm.
also a good side character. However, I feel like probably Detective Claudette, a little bit stronger character, overall camera presence than Olivia. But overall, a pretty dynamic duo. I
Right.
like those two detectives a lot.
How did you feel about I think her name is Elsie? Elsa? It was the girl that Harrison was watching her, the baby. You
Yeah,
remember yeah.
I liked her. I
I
do
thought
feel like in the last few episodes they kind of got away from her a little bit.
I did
Obviously, because Harrison's interest, shifted towards the blonde girl at the college, and so they kind of got away from her story slightly. But
right.
very nice girl, hardworking at the hotel. She's got a son with some medical challenges. So uh, nice side character as well, not a really strong character. I don't feel like because they didn't really do a lot with her. It wasn't really about her. Um,
It's
but
interesting.
overall, a decent
Yeah,
character.
it's interesting because ever since they introduced the little blonde chick, the little gothic girl, the one he's been fooling around with, it kind of seemed like they've been slowly pushing that other woman character
Yeah,
away.
that's what I
It's
mean. They
so
kind of got
cool.
away from her over the last 2 or 3 episodes.
Right, right. So I do wonder like how in season two, like what's that dynamic going to be like? Because it was kind of obvious that he kind of had a crush on her, because he wouldn't be doing all this stuff for her if she didn't. So I felt that's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I felt like she was into him. He was into
Yeah.
her. I mean, he would, he would come over, spend the night at her crib, and help her with her son, and she would
Right,
assist him. And so, it's kind of sad. I like the blonde chick too. Her storyline, the goth girl, is going to be an interesting one too because she's pretty out there and pretty wild.
right,
But the other girl that we're talking about, the one with the kid, I, I feel like her and Harrison probably would have been good for each other.
right. So Jay, episode three, about three up into five is when we get introduced to quite a bit of things. To where Batista's in New York City. He meets up with the main detective. Also, Dexter finds out about these group of serial killers, and then eventually he gets up to meeting Leon Prater. And then right before that, he finally gets back with Harrison. But my question to you is, how do you feel about these new batches of what you call them? You call them like what the clown posse? What you call them, bro?
Man, I don't
The
know the band of Robin Hood's merry men. I don't know these
yeah,
guys,
you
bro.
didn't like those guys,
I didn't
like
like those guys at all because
right,
as a fan of the original series, I think back, we've always had characters, and specifically Prater. What we're talking about is Prater with his band of serial killers convention, and he would host these guys at their house. And
Yeah.
we had like a father slash grandfather figure who lived across the country. We had the Zodiac killers who were actually twin killers. Then we had the girl who he set up, and she got arrested and actually took the fall for
Hmm.
the hotel murders. And then we had Red, the ride share driver, and then we had obviously the New York Ripper, who we still we'll get into him in a minute. But those guys, to me, they were super weak, bro. They had no like real skills for real. I know they're going up against Dexter, but it was way too easy. I think back in the original series, we've always had um, killers and antagonists. And by the way, great leading question, because I do want to just point out really quick, just as a quick backdrop, we're not going to talk much about the original series, but in season one, we had the ice cream truck killer. In season two, we had the deranged Lila West, who basically, killed Dokes and tried to kill Dexter's family. Season three, we had Miguel Prado, who actually was one of the first time Dexter shared his code with, and they were like co-killers together. We season four, the most notorious. We had the Trinity Killer.
Hmm.
Season five, we had Jordan Chase. He didn't really do a whole bunch of killing, but he was the mastermind behind the Barrel Girl murders. Season six, we had Travis, the Doomsday Killer. That was actually a pretty important season there.
It
Season
was.
seven, we had Isaac Shrieko, the introduction of Hannah McKay, and she was a killer in her own right. Season eight, obviously, the brain surgeon. And then season nine, we had Kirk Caldwell, the kidnap slash killer. And
Yeah.
so all of these characters, we had little side murderers in those seasons as well, because Dexter was notorious for taking out guys who basically committed crimes,
Right.
but deserved a much harsher penalty. So there were
Right.
some side killers as well. But
Hmm.
in this new season, to answer to your question, Prater's little collection of convention of Band of Merry Men, these guys, man, even if I compared them to any of the killers in the original series, by far these guys were the weakest. To me, bro, they were actually worse than the Skinner. And I know you and I talk about the Skinner all the time. The Skinner, the Skinner was terrible, bro. But these guys were even worse than the Skinner.
So I disagree.
Okay.
Because the reason why I like them is because we kind of already knew that so the show doesn't just flat out tell you that Prater is going to be the main villain, but but they do a good job of kind of like building it up because once again, like you see Prater as like he's not a physical threat to Dexter at all.
Right.
His problem to him comes to more of his mental games to him, just having like that the master like the mastermind power of manipulation, and that's pretty much like his special power. And when it comes to the batch of clowns that you refer them to be, I actually like them like that Mia character. That was the lady who like the one that the she was the lady that got that committed suicide inside of the prison or
Inside the
praying
so-called
for. Yeah.
suicide, right.
I felt like her and also what the Gemini killer. I felt like those two had like the best type of like narratives about the story. And then also like even like the big guy, I think his name was like what was his name? Like Rapunzel, something like that. I think it was Rapunzel. I think that was the
Yeah,
big.
they used to like collect
Yeah,
hair pieces. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, these characters had really disturbing like disturbing stuff about themselves, man. So
No,
it's like
their
there's
stories, their so-called stories, were for me it wasn't the problem because
right,
a Gemini, a dual twin killer, it sounds good, or Red, the rideshare driver,
yeah,
or the Rapunzel and collecting hair pieces. But
right,
I felt like on camera, whenever they were shown, they came across very comedical, like comedy. It was too funny, and actually, what I mean by they were weak, it
hmm
was just too easy to get rid of these guys.
right,
Even some of the original guys, they presented problems for Dexter, bro. Like there were even some of the minor characters in the older seasons,
right,
like the big guy that Dexter couldn't kill and like broke loose from the table. I know you remember that guy.
yeah,
the one Deborah tried to get as well. They were side guys who Dexter even had a more hard time with. And
Yeah.
these guys on Prater's in Prater's circle, they were supposed to be like the country's most notorious, killer, the doomsday. I mean, you know, the Zodiacs and all these guys, and so I felt like it was just too easy.
So the thing is that because this show only has 10 episodes, I believe that like if you were to take each of these characters and put them in their own type of
That's a
like
good point.
you put them.
Maybe it was rushed a little bit. Yeah.
Well, but I wouldn't say rush. I'm saying like these characters have the potential to be like their own main villain, especially the
Yeah.
Gemini and
The Gemini
like,
killer, right, right.
yeah,
So what you're saying is if they had given the Gemini killers like their own season
no,
for
well,
us that's what I
so
mean. It's like
no,
the
no, no,
character
no,
development. Right,
right.
right.
That's not necessarily what I'm saying. I'm saying that based on their story alone and how they kill, I can see them being a main villain for like a season, another season of
Yeah,
that.
that's what yeah. So if you
They're
give them
they're
a whole
talented.
season so,
But
to
the thing,
develop their
yeah.
character or something.
But the thing is, as part of the story is more about Prater, and it's not really too much about them. But what they did do with these characters, I felt like they were like subplots that still added to the mystique of Prater. So in that instance, I still like them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the tattoo killer was a crazy one too. Like the one that was well he'll like what do tattoos of like girls or whatever and like
Yeah,
yeah another disturbing character. So it's like they're all disturbing. Dexter, the thing about Dexter in this show with these guys, he's trying to take these people out as quick as possible. But the reason why but the reason why he's able to do it is because he's using leverage of the conviction because he's impersonating as a Reed or whatever his name is. He's able
yeah.
to out quicker because he don't got to get so much information about them.
But
So
it was also a very dangerous move because obviously if he's invited to the circle and there's not many people in there, what maybe 3 to 5 people, other killers. And so if once he started killing a few of them, one of them, two of them, three of them, obviously people are going to know, you know what? He just showed up. Our serial killers are starting to disappear. And we know that actually happened because Charlie actually figured out, you know what? This red guy may not be who he is because all of us are suddenly starting to disappear. So what Dexter was
yeah,
doing, I don't know if it was well thought out because had he gotten rid of maybe one or two more,
yeah,
obviously his whole plan would have failed
and,
because Prater
yeah.
would have realized that he wasn't really who he said he was.
Yeah, but the show was already even like the character narrations, like it was already implied that Dexter was getting close to being caught. He even said to himself that if I don't hurry and take these guys out quick,
Yeah,
they'll figure out something. Then they're going to figure out who I really am. So
right.
I felt like, but again, this show is called Dexter Resurrection. I feel like this is all the things that he's going through to try to get back to to the way he was,
Right. And
But
so and so
yeah,
and then also on that same line of wrapping this season up, we know another major storyline was his old friend Batista. So Batista followed him from Miami uh, to New Blood, and then obviously him putting together that he was responsible for LaGuardia's death, for Dokes' death, and that he was the Bay Harbor Butcher. And so he figured out that he was in New York. And once Batista got to New York,
mhm,
man, he was like a bloodhound, bro. He didn't
right,
let it go. He visited Blessing's house. He went talked to Harrison. He went and talked to the detectives at the New York police station. He actually went and talked to Prater. And we know once he got to Prater and showed him the picture and said, "Hey, this is really Dexter Morgan. Why are you in the picture with this guy? This is not Red, who you think it is. This is
right.
actually Dexter Morgan, who is in fact the Bay Harbor Butcher." And so
Yeah,
when that happened, this
just like
whole season's dynamic with Batista, man, what do you think about that storyline?
so everything that has to do with Batista in the show, it was very great to see, but at the same time it's like, damn, I hate that.
Man, I hated it, bro.
Kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like here's the thing, right? And I'm gonna get to this more, when we talk about the last episode to the ending or whatever. But this whole entire like season of Dexter really remind me of like the last season of Breaking Bad, because in Breaking Bad, Hank pretty much finds out, what's my man's name?
Jesse Pinkman,
Yes, no, the other guy, what the bald dude, Heisenberg, yeah, yeah,
Heisenberg.
yeah. Like whenever, like like the scene whenever Dexter and Tease was in the car, it really gave me flashbacks of whenever Hank and Heisenberg were in their garage, and Hank closed the garage door, pretty much said, "Hey man, I know what you do.
Yeah,
I'm going to get you." You know what I'm saying? This really,
dude, that is a great parallel, bro. I didn't even think about that.
yeah, that it really gave me that kind of vibe.
Because even Hank and Heisenberg, I mean, they were family, and
Right,
you could actually say Batista and Dexter, bro, they were like family, bro.
right,
I mean, when you think about the original seasons, I mean, in what aspects were Batista and Dexter close?
right,
I mean, they shared family ties at each other's weddings. You know, obviously they were co-workers. They worked for each other. When Rita died at the end of season 4
right,
by the hands of the Trinity Killer, Batista was one of the ones, man, who comforted him.
right.
Uh, Dexter was being
He
investigated
was
actually in
there
the
for him.
beginning,
Yeah,
and Batista was like there for him. And actually, in season 2, when Lila and Batista had their little situation, and Batista was accused of like drugging her and raping her and all these crazy accusations by Lila, Dexter pretty much, you know, he handled that situation, man. So those two always had each other's back, man.
right. And yeah, man. So that's why it was really crazy with his character. That's why it kind of gave me those similarities between Hank and Heisenberg. So just his whole entire, it was sad to see, just because of the fact that like I said, like their relationship, how it started and how it's going to pretty much end. We all know, So it was, but he was great at his role. Like for him to play this character and have his motivation, I felt like Batista Davis, the actor's name David, he was very very great at his acting skills.
It was bittersweet for me because at first, even in New Blood, I was, me. And when we talked off camera, I always wanted to see some of those old characters back. I
Right,
liked seeing Batista. I liked seeing Joey Quinn and Masuka, even the flashbacks of the Trinity Killer. Even this season, there were times when Dexter was in his head talking to his brother Brian Moser, the ice cream truck killer. So I always liked seeing, you know, them paying tribute to the old seasons and old characters because those characters, bro,
right,
fans of the show, those are the ones we love. So I
right,
loved seeing Batista back. But once, I realized that Batista and Dexter were going to be like arch nemesis and enemies, there was a piece of me, bro, who was a little bit disturbed by that just because as a fan, I get it for the storyline, but as a fan, it's like seeing, two friends or a husband and wife breaking up. It was just like you said, it was a dynamic that they had together that was like, you know, something's got to give. Because we talked about it before this season, with the way Batista was going at Dexter,
right,
there was only a couple possible outcomes. Either
right,
Batista gets killed or Dexter gets caught and killed. Like there was only a couple things that they could do with this situation.
right. And like I said, and that's the sad part of it. And that's why, like again,
Yeah.
it made it that's why it made it like really great television, because
But at
great,
least, one thing I like at least in episode 9, one thing I appreciated is that Dexter actually didn't kill Batista.
right, yeah.
That's the twist in the whole thing.
I would have got mad if the writers made Dexter be the one to kill Batista. I would have got
Yeah.
mad. Oh, because I was like, man, he don't like no. So I felt like how they did his death. I felt like it was, if they're going to end Batista, I felt like how it happened. I feel like they did a good job. Some people disagree. Some people definitely disagree about that. Some people don't even think that he should have died yet. They felt like maybe his chase should have, went on a little bit more in different
So
seasons.
let me pose a question for you and for the audience. We'll answer this really quick. When you think about the Dexter as a the Dexter universe per se, when you think about all the characters that we've had in all of these seasons, which 3 deaths stand out to you the most? Let me say that again. of all the seasons, which three characters' deaths stand out to you the most? And I'm gonna let you tackle that first, and then I'll answer it. Or you want me to go first?
You talking about me?
Yeah,
Well, no, my three most
yeah.
impactful.
Because I'm not sure Batista's, as much as I love him, would be the three most impactful deaths to me. Maybe, but yeah, let's get your three.
Definitely Rita. Uh,
Definitely Rita in season four, to the Trinity Killer.
honestly, man. Honestly, no, this is not hard at all. Rita, Batista, and I will say probably LaGuardia. Well,
LaGuardia's passing away, but LaGuardia just as because she was around for like six,
no, no,
seven
no.
seasons.
Deb. Yeah, Deb. That's my three.
Deborah dies at the end
But,
of season
yeah,
8. Yeah,
but Batista, Deborah, and Rita to me were the most shocking, just
I
because
was
of
about to say. I mean, uh, even more shocking than Dokes.
the
Ooh,
reason why I say yes is because we actually grew with Deborah more than Dokes.
that's true.
Even though I love Dokes. That's my
Yeah,
man.
you like Dokes.
I felt like they took him out too early. That's my man. But yeah, bro.
Dokes had to
But
go, bro.
nah, he didn't have to go, bro. He had to go nowhere. But I felt like they took him out too early.
Yeah,
But because they did take him out, and we was able to grow with these other characters like Batista, like Deborah. You know what I'm saying? Like Rita. Rita was really shocking because I could not believe they would go that dark with the show. That was crazy, man. But that's my three. What about you?
I would definitely say Rita.
Yeah.
You got to put Deb in there, even though season 8 for me with the brain surgeon, and Dr. Vogel, I believe was her name. Um, that was an interesting season, but definitely, you know, season 8 actually, showing Deborah and how her and Dexter's relationship was slowly
Right.
being patched back up by Vogel. Because once LaGuardia died in the previous season,
Yeah.
Deborah, we know she was messed up.
Right.
uh she turned to substance abuse. She basically quit the force.
Right.
That whole storyline with her. So I would definitely say Rita, definitely Deborah dying. And actually Deborah dying is one of the reasons I think why Dexter ended up at the end of season 8 basically faking his own death and basically leaving.
Right.
um so
Yeah.
Rita, Deborah, and probably I think I would put LaGuardia over Batista.
Really? Why is that?
Just
It's
because of the
very
fact
impactful.
we saw. That's a very interesting question. Why? I think because of the impact of the show. We had
Right.
the following seasons because once LaGuardia died, that affected Deborah because that's kind of when she found out. Right around that same time, she realized who Dexter was. She was trying to protect him,
Right.
and then once they were in that little boxcar thing, and she had to make a choice between her brother and LaGuardia,
Hmm.
and she at that time already knew that Dexter was the Bay Harbor Butcher. She thought about it for a second. Should I kill my brother or should
Right.
I kill like my boss? And I think just the way it was set up
Right.
to me was it was
It
just a
was.
little bit more
It was.
like wow.
It was definitely. I felt like Batista was more sad,
Yeah.
and because Batista, he's like one of the only characters that left from like the actual like series. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people in this series, main
Yeah.
characters,
But
passed
you
on.
know what? Here's another parallel. You made the parallel between Hank and Heisenberg. There's
Right.
also a parallel. It's ironic we're talking about this between Batista and LaGuardia. Dude, their situations are very, very similar. Both married,
Hmm.
both captains, and in charge of the force, and both of them at one point really believed they were taking Dexter down because LaGuardia, man, she swore up and down that she tried to prove it. She knew who he was. She tried to set him up. Um, LaGuardia was like a bloodhound on Dexter's trail, just like Batista was. And actually,
Uh, what's up? What's that?
Dexter
That-
probably could have and should have killed both of them, but both LaGuardia and Batista were killed by someone else who was right there with Dexter.
1 second, Jay. One second, Jay. What's up? Okay, listen. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, but Luxley Smith, is that how you pronounce your name? Regardless, what's good? What's good? What's
What's
good?
up, chat room? What's going on, guys?
Um, but nah, I do agree.
Yeah.
Um, and that ties into like episode so from episode 5 to 8, right? We're getting close to the end. So episode 5 through 8 pretty much tackles. So Dexter finally gets back with Harrison. I love how they kind of reconnected. I love how obviously there's a lot of remorse with Harrison to Dexter because of course. Okay, perfect. All right, good. All right, okay. I pronounced the name right. So yeah. But yeah, so I like how they were able to come back together and yeah, it was kind of, they had some rough patches to get over with, but I like how they eventually came back together. It was a really heartfelt moment. Also, it made it to where like I feel like around this time Batista was also interrogating Dexter. Not Dexter, I mean Harrison, which led to that scene where Batista pretty much finds Dexter's friends, the blessing, and then they're having a little fiesta upstairs. Dexter finds out, and then you get that famous stay away from my son. This won't end well for you. And then Batista like, you know what, whatever, it is what it is. I'm retired now, so I'm gonna just do whatever. So leading up, Dexter takes out, more of these villains and everything like that. And the show to me is getting more intense as we get close to the end because now Dexter, he's getting awfully too close of reveal himself to be, Dexter, not this dark passenger guy, or whatever. Batista in the, he's getting awfully close to Dexter. Like the scene whenever he was going to kill the hotel manager in that room in New
Right.
York. And Batista pretty much like he almost got
He
him, man.
almost caught him, bro.
Almost caught him, man. Like
Dude,
but
just like
yeah,
LaGuerta almost caught Dexter. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like, he put a tracker on his car and followed him and saw this room full of plastic. And
right,
then, like you said, that guy just happens to escape. Dexter exit out the back and he gets away. But man, so leading up to the episode 9,
mm,
Batista's hot on his trail.
hot.
He
Woo, boy,
sees pictures of Dexter and
yeah,
Prater together. He
right,
goes to confront Prater. He goes, figures out who Prater is. He runs into him and says, "Hey, this guy who you think is Red is really the Bay Harbor Butcher." And
right,
then the twist of it being is that Prater actually captures and ties up
right.
Batista
That was a
because
crazy.
now he realizes, you know what? I'm friends with the Bay Harbor Butcher because
Right,
this Prater guy, bro, he is so crazy that
right,
he loves being around serial killers. And so, episode 10, the finale, uh, you know, takes place after Batista gets shot. Dexter is locked in the vault. And so you want to take it from the season finale.
right. And he's locked in the vault, and it's like, okay, what do you do, man? Like everything leading up to that moment, man, so intense. Like episodes 8 to 10 were like, like my hairs were standing up, like literally, like it was so intense. So obviously, you want Batista to go home. The detective found out that, hey, you're actually a retired cop. You've been posing like you still work for Miami, but you're retired. So man, go home, Batista, bro. That's my mindset, man. Just go home, and just let it go. But like you said, bro, he saw the picture of freaking Peter, man, and he noticed that he was with Dexter. So he, of course, which leads to him, basically getting captured and kidnapped, and you know and that's why the Peter guy's a great villain because that's what I'm saying. He's not a physical threat, but he's able to. But he's a psychological villain. Like he's a manipulator. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He,
And just briefly, I know off camera we talked about, and we won't talk about this too much, but I did want to point this out that you and I just our views differed slightly if we viewed Prater as a real villain because you definitely said he was definitely the antagonist, and I can see that point. But the point I was making off camera was that to me he wasn't really a threat along the season because he was more wanting to be Dexter's friend.
so
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But my and then my counter argument was that that's the same thing about the Trinity Killer because it was because yeah, you knew that the Trinity Killer like he was a physical threat, right? The only difference between the Trinity Killer and this guy is that one guy's a physical threat, another guy's not.
yeah.
One guy's a mass
And you know
manipulator.
what else it reminded me of? It almost reminds me of Miguel Prado.
Right.
Because Prado and Dexter at first, Prado wasn't a threat at all. Prado really hadn't killed anybody either. It was just like he was more friends along the way. But once he learned the code, he wanted to kind of go off on his own and start killing on his own.
Right,
Yeah.
which is crazy. So but like I said, so Dexter ends up, of course, has an ultimatum. Basically, you got to kill Batista, pretty much. There's really no way out of it. But of course, Dexter, he still cares for Batista, so he cut him loose. But man, Batista, man, he's just so full of rage. He wants so much revenge that it's like
Yeah.
he didn't even care about the people. Like he didn't even care about Peter. He didn't.
No, he didn't. He didn't even care
He
about Prater or what was going
didn't
on, because
yeah,
once he was cut loose, and Dexter took the tape off because obviously Prater shot him.
right,
Batista could have said other things, but he was just like, "F you." He was like, you know what?
right.
It was a bittersweet goodbye. He didn't forgive him. He didn't, you know, and
Well,
so the
yeah,
season finale, with it shows Dexter being trapped in the vault.
mm,
He's trying to get out, and basically he finds Batista's phone, and he
right,
calls his son Harrison and is like, "Look, I'm stuck in this vault. I need you to come to the gala, and I
mm,
need you to help me get out." And
right.
so, why don't you share with the listening audience how basically Dexter figures out how to get out of the vault?
So pretty much he used what he knew about Peter to try to find out, okay, what could this passcode be? It has to be a code that he'll never forget. So he pretty much used this. So Dexter pretty much schemes up, okay, I thought maybe it could be the first guy that I think he's the prison guy. I think he killed his parents, right?
Right.
Got his name. But what I think, like, what his inmate code or whatever. I
It
think
was like it was like the number on the letters that he was sending.
right.
Maybe his inmate number.
I
Yeah.
think it was an inmate number. So long story short, he pretty much gets that together. But every moment with Harrison inside of the ball area was pretty much, tenseful because of the fact that he had to dodge like three people. He had to dodge, Prater's bodyguard lady. He had to dodge, the detectives. He had to dodge Prater himself. So it's like it kind of
But
gave
you
him.
know, one thing I thought of was this. I thought that, and what we're talking about is once he's locked in the vault and Dexter gets Harrison to, basically help him get out.
Mhm.
From that point on, Harrison basically impressed me. He's almost like a miniature Dexter, because Dexter sometimes would be in disguise. He would kind
Right,
of blend in with people. He
right,
would he would pick locks to go in places.
yeah,
He would be like, hard to he would just blend in. And that's exactly what Harrison did at the gala. He put
mm,
on the waiter's jacket, he blended in, he
mm,
moved past the crowd, he goes up the stairs,
right,
and then he's about to pick the lock when all of a sudden Charlie the assassin says, "I'm
yeah,
glad to see, I'm
yeah,
good to see you."
yeah,
Points a gun at him, gets him
right,
in the room. But then Dexter's watching on the phone that's still turned on. The battery is about to run out,
right.
and he tells Harrison, "Look, give Charlie the phone. I want to talk to her." And what does he basically say to Charlie?
Hey, I forgot, what did he say? Like, what? Stay from my son?
Well, he said stay away from him and don't hurt him, but he was basically like, "Look, I need you guys to get me out, and as a
Right.
result,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah, yeah,
damage all the
yeah.
files and burn everything down." And yeah,
Right. Pretty much get y'all guys all pretty much arrested, basically, whatever.
right,
Mother life. So that was a tense moment too. But I was like, Harrison's smart. Dexter did teach him everything he knows. So all that kind of rubs off on Harrison. So like I said, you eventually, Dexter gives him the password or whatever. He opens the door. That was a great reunion. Dexter has to finish up some business. He tells Harrison to go home. Pretty much your job here is done. Get the heck out of here.
right.
Fortunately, he gets seen by Prater.
Prater sees him on the camera. He finds Dexter getting ready to leave. Prater actually captures Harrison on the way out, brings
Right.
him back up to the room, talks Dexter to coming back up, and now there's a big scene where Prater has a gun on Harrison, and he basically tells Dexter, "Look, one of you is going to die, and probably both of you is going to get killed." And then we know Dexter distracts the whole scenario by reminding his son Harrison, "Look, you got this little needle in your pocket." He
Right.
jabs
Right. Right. Yeah.
Harrison jabs Prater with it.
Yeah. He was
Prater
like,
is unconscious, and then
yeah,
the next scene that we see is Prater now on the table of the
yeah.
Bay Harbor
Yeah.
Butcher. So now he's on the table, and we know basically Dexter does what Dexter does best. There's a dialogue between Prater and Dexter.
Hmm. Right. Oh, what happened to? What?
Prater.
Okay, bet you back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Just a
So
little glitch. So
no,
we
you
know that once Prater is on Dexter's table,
right.
Dexter does what Dexter does.
Hmm.
He chops. He basically chops
I,
Prater up.
I
Figures out that he's going to go on Prater's own boat, and then he
right.
disposes of the body.
I felt it was funny that whenever he chops people up, it's usually big garbage bags. But for
Yeah,
this, it was little mini. It was like little mini bags.
yeah, that was funny. That was
That that
funny.
that's part of that dark humor that that I guess serial killer convention. I think that's what the show was trying to show you, dark humor. But so yeah, man. So it's like so
But
overall.
even before that, I do want to point out for the people watching that right before he does that, he does leave evidence in the room for the detectives
Yeah,
of various files. And one of the files he leaves behind as evidence, he kind of
yeah,
implies that Prater is like this serial killer himself. And so
yeah.
by disposing of Prater, which is what Dexter has done in the past, so
Right.
now they're going to be probably looking for Prater, but he actually leaves a file about the New York Ripper. And so
Yeah.
that's a really interesting subplot because many people believe,
Mm-hmm.
season 2 probably or might should deal with the identity of the New York Ripper. And we
Yeah.
learned this episode that the name of the New York Ripper is a man by the name of Don Frampt, whoever
Right.
this Don Frampt is. And
Yeah.
so it's going to be a very interesting watch to see what they do with the story of the New York Ripper.
So either two things can happen for me. Either number one, they're just going to find him and arrest him, or they can make the story more complex. Maybe he faked his name. Maybe he has a new name. And it leads to, okay, now let's find who the new is to make it more complicated. So I felt like that was interesting. I mean, overall, I felt like, they left a lot open on the table for another season. Like this season
For
to me,
sure, for sure.
like this season to me overall, now that I watched it, it feels like a bridge to something bigger. So that's why like how we were saying off camera, I would have felt like it was an anticlimactic ending if we didn't know there was a second season. But I feel like this
Yeah.
one is literally like the bridge that's going to connect season two. You know what I'm saying? So
I can see that, and a lot of people did say it was a little anticlimactic as far as for a season finale. And for
yeah,
me personally, it slightly was, but I do agree with you as a bridge episode for setting up something bigger. Once
right,
we get season 2, we'll be like, oh, okay, that's why they did what they did, and
right.
and so I do appreciate that, bro.
And look,
Overall, man, I probably give the season a solid A- to B+. It was really good to see Dexter back. I appreciated the character development. I liked seeing him being reunited with his son. I like the fact that Dexter is doing back what Dexter is known for doing. So it's going to be very interesting for me to see how this season progresses. What about yourself? What would you give it as a rating?
so yeah, so like pretty much it's just my overall summary is that like you know they left a lot open on the table. They got the Allen, they well not Allen, but the ponytail, girl or whatever. They got loose, so him, he got those files of all those other serial killers that also go after as well, and then again the New York Ripper. So it's like there's still a lot of dynamics, a lot of stories that has not been concluded. So overall, so for me, I give it like if I had to score from 1 out of 10, I'll give it like a solid 8, which that could be like a B+. Maybe. It
Yeah,
was a
about a B plusish.
really
Yeah.
had, yeah, it was a great season, man. It was a great return to form. I mean, it was
One thing I hope, if anybody else watches this, it probably would agree. I hope they don't wait too long to do the next season.
yeah,
Hopefully, the writers realize there's a big fan base. The ratings were really, really good for this season. There's a lot of reviews and stuff about it. So I hope they don't wait too long. Hopefully, in early 2026, we get season 2 sometime early to mid 2026.
right.
So I'm definitely looking forward to the new season. Um,
So I mean, it was great television. So like, yeah, I'm totally satisfied, man. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much the review, y'all.
Yes, sir. We appreciate all you guys chiming in,
Hold
all
on,
the
Jay.
comments, all the views.
Shout
Go
hold
back and
on, Jay.
watch the
Shout
show.
shout out your YouTube channel, man. Like, let people know where to find
Yeah,
you.
I want to shout out to all the fans of the show, to all the people that chimed in, that watched it live, to all the people that will watch the show. If you're new to us and new to Too Easy Official, stay tuned. We plan on doing many more of these, so hopefully you enjoy
Shout out,
it. Let
shout
us
out,
know in the chats maybe
shout
what
out.
topics or you want us to cover.
But
So appreciate you guys, and you
wait,
guys have a good night.
shout out your YouTube, bro. Shout out your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, you can look me up on Jesse
On
J
there.
Schmidt.
Yeah.
Check out my music, check out my reviews and my little shorts.
Nice.
More of that coming up in the future. So stay tuned. We hope you guys have a blessed week. Thank y'all
Yeah.
for watching.
Yeah. Subscribe to the channel, y'all. See y'all next time, guys. Peace.